Hello everybody, welcome back to the Artisan of Glimmith. 732 is our solve count, nearing 3/4 of the way to 1,000. No idea how far past 1,000 it goes, but still lots to do. So where even were we? I was panning around a lot last time. We did enough of inequality to move on. Well, at least for me to mentally move on. We need to do 9 more of these at Watchtower to have Watchtower done. Alright, let's see what we can do. So, 4 is going to have 4 different. 1 gets all of that to be the same. 2 is either going to pick up this or this. This 2 already has 2, so I don't understand how this 3 can have 3. What? Hold on. This 4 has to have 4 different ones. This 3 has to have 3 different ones, right? Does that mean that this and this have to be the same region? What would that even look like? It can't be that, because that can't cross that corner. One, 2. I can't do that there, though. I feel like I could be onto something. I just don't know what it is. Is there something here? Right, we know that must be true, because that's a 4. The 4 gets 4 different colors. That's plain to see, right? This 3 has to have 3 different colors. So this and this have to be the same, because 2 can't have 3. This can't cross that. Oh, okay. Right, so we're onto something here. This can't do this, but it could go around the edge further in some capacity. This needs... That's 1. This can be 2. This can be 3. How far around is it going to have to go? Is a great question. Because all of these have to be the same. Because, like, could it do that? We're so close, I think. Where do I get this to then become a different piece? There. That's bonkers. but not unmanageable, which is nice. What about you? God. All right, start here. Excuse you. 1 gets a box around it. It's just area numbers and watchtowers. How? None of our stuff currently has numbers in areas apart from the 1, which is an outlier. So 28 of this. 5, 12, 18, 21, 22, 23, 31, 35, 28. Well, let's do this then. Second, what did we say? 9, 16, 22, 30, 35. Okay, so there's no free spaces, is what we're getting at with that. Everything has to contribute to something, which means this 4 has to go like that. This 8 is going to have to pick these up. I don't know if that's going to go there or there, but it can't go there and trap the 8 in. This 4 can't belong to the 5, so it's going to have to belong to the 7. So the 5's going to get that. Probably this. Then that has to be a different color on that side. That could be a single line, couldn't it? The rest of this doesn't feel like it's going to be far off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 8. Nice. Not bad for a 4. I guess that time away helped. You just, yeah, you really are just hiding in there, aren't you? You're hiding in there. You're hiding in there. You're hiding all the way down there. They really want to scooch them in, don't they? 36. 14 and 14 is 28. 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. So the 14s have to be in the same region together because there's too much number present otherwise. Is that right? 28, 30, 34, 37, yeah. So the 14s are together and they're going to have to bifurcate somehow. Straight line, straight as can be, is 10. That would make these have 2s, which is just a coincidence of how I colored it. I mean, all these 3s are gonna have to have this as a straight line, and then 2 branching out from them. But this was just my first punt at joining the 14 and the other 14 together, so there's no inherent reason why this should be more correct. But at the very least, we can take this opportunity as like a learning example for seeing what's going on with what we have. Though, I'm wondering... Yeah, this 3 then becomes a problem. As I was saying, I'm wondering just how... If this is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 could look something like that. And then we just have to figure out the 4 and the 2 and the 3. But I'm almost certainly not correct in this execution. So, get away from that and think about how else this is going to go together, really. It does seem that... Okay, well... We can't hook around the 3s in... the corners of our lines, so it feels like this might have been correct by happenstance, just because any other way we try and do it begins to introduce problems. So maybe this was right from the get-go, and we just have to finesse these numbers a bit more carefully. This was 10. That as 14 still feels really good. That has to exist there if it does. That's separate to that is separate to that. These ones get more interesting being on corners. But the rest of what we've placed out feels good. That and that will have to exist as they are. As will that. As will that. It certainly feels like this is right where the solution is near. It's just figuring out quite how these 4s exist. Because this already has 3. So that can't exist that way. This 4's going to then have to, therefore, pick up either this one, or perhaps both. So that this 3 has a T in it, because all the 3s have to have a T coming off of them. That's just the rule of all the 3s. Which makes it interesting for the 3s on the furthest edges here. That work? It seems to be working. Right, so up here. You've got 2 already, so it's going to have to be either be this to make a T. There it is. So our initial line happened to be correct, and then we just had to figure out the edges once we had some more confidence. 6 more. 6 more. Again, a big sea of 3s, which we know must have T's. But quite how remains to be seen. These are the only 3s that can join each other, except they can't because there's no way that that is allowed. So that's something. This works. Which makes me wonder how else we could make that shape kind of reminiscent of what we have up in this half. It's just the last three to do. Feels like it should be so manageable from here. That has to do that to stop that being a T. Nice. Okay. I got to this straight line piece from the 4 in the previous puzzle, knowing that that had to exist as a straight line where we had the 3 dots in 2 consecutive edges or like vertices in the previous puzzle. So if I hadn't have done that, I could have been there for ages. There's not one there. So there's you, and was there one more? Yeah, there's you down here. All right, with a shape bank, I feel like this shouldn't be as bad, but you never know. Start with the 4. That's going to be nice. So obviously this has to come out to here and down to there. Whether it extends further than that, we don't know, but it must do so. Well, that can't go to there, so that's going to get cut off here and be a shape. That one can go to there, but doesn't have to. Is interesting. What else? Great question. If this comes to here, that has to take that and has to go all the way up, which forces that to be there, which forces that. This is going to need a T on it somehow. If that is this for 2, that has to be that, that has to be that. Which means that has to go there. That's there, because it can't go up, because that needs to be that. Ah, we're one off having a correct solve here, and I'm so mad about it. Right, I probably got to here with some guessing somewhere along the line, which is why this has gone so poorly at this point. So back to this. We started here. That has to come out, that has to come out. And then it has to come down, has to come down. It means that has to come down, that has to come down. Where can I get logic from here? This can't do that, so that has to make a line. That can't do that, so that has to make a line. This has to come down. That can't come down to here then, so that gets a cap. This could go left, it could go right. If it goes into the left, that has to hook up there. But we already saw in our kind of colouring in version that that didn't really seem to pan out, but we shouldn't use bad colouring in knowledge to inform good further puzzle solving, should we? So this could be this or this. Or this. If this cut that off, we could do something like that. So cutting off is a possible option. Well, We know that must come to here, as we did with that one. This can't go that way. And that can't join up to there. So I think this has to come to here. I think that is true. That could join that. Doesn't have to. But if that were to do that, it would leave this hemmed in. And that can't go that way. So, that must be true. Boom. Found a piece of logic. This twofer is only going to have 2. It can either be this or that. It has to be one of those two, I believe. But which two? I don't know. Which of those two? Because you can't have both. I know this is going to need a T-shape, because all 3s do. But how the rest of it looks, I don't know. Still feels like there's a lot of options given the shape bank. I guess these steps are kind of interesting. There's only going to be so many ways that we can have these shapes populate that kind of jagged staircase, but it doesn't really help me either. Alright, if that must come down to there, that must be a line. Sure. If you were to exist there, can we... Okay, we can't do this way, because that ends up with more than 2 colours. Can't do it this way because that ends up with 5 on the left. So how about T on this side? That's going to end up once again with more than 2 colours here, isn't it? I think the 2 colours is more important to how we progress. But again, it comes down to this issue of there's 2 ways to do it and I don't know which way. Okay, well, this can't go left, can it? So that must be a shape. Okay. That makes me feel better. Oh dear. Oh no, that can go that way. Now we're getting towards something that I thought was not a way this could go. Because this ends up with 2. How did that not work? So this can't go left because this ends up on more than 2. So that has to go that way. That has to take that. That has to take those. Is there some other way we can do this. No. Am I messing something fundamental up here? This comes out to the left, and it must come down. This comes out to the right, and it must come down. Those lines exist. This must come down. This must come down. That line exists. That can't go that way. That exists. That can't go over. That exists. They must come down also. This can't do that, because there's no way for it to make the longer shape. So it must come down. If this goes to the left, then we can't make two colors exist here. That is correct, isn't it? Because you can't have that going on. So that must go to that side. Mustn't it? That means that must go to there. That means to get this to two colors, it does this. And then I'm just in the same pattern I was in 5 minutes ago. Oh, I don't know where I'm making an error in all of that. Which is the hard part. That can't go that way. That must exist. That can't go that way. That must exist. This way could be viable, I guess. There it is. I don't know how I wasn't getting that when going round the clockwise route, because that was the way I had that round. We did that, we did that, we did that, we did that. I guess I just missed this option for these. Either way, we got there. Oh, we were down here, weren't we? That's why we're looking directly at this window. 4 more. 4 more. Goodness. Okay. Well, if that's a 1 and these are 2s, then they have to be connected, possibly like this, except then that would be make for 3s, wouldn't it? How are we connecting all that together? Well, this 3 up here, with this guy existing, it can't do that. So it's going to have to be this, with the T shape coming out that way, off of the 3. Which means for that to exist, it has to be there, I believe. It's just the polyominoes and the watchtowers, no other additional rules. So this would be this, or this, but no way to tell which right now. It's these 2s with a 1 center that are really throwing me for a little loop right now. Because this and this must be the same. And this must be the same. They could all be one region, but they don't have to be. I don't know if I could... If that were to do something like that, I'd have to go that far around to get B to B. And then that far around to get to A. But this too then breaks, which is my problem. That's not allowed. Otherwise, it looks kind of good. Trying to find ways that this A can get around this lot. Because if we look at this guy, that guy can't do that. Because that can't be there. It can't do that. So that must do that. Just must. So A needs to get out. There's some other way I can orient this T-shape than this. We can't have it go to the ceiling. Because this needs to get out. It's so close, you know? Here's a really interesting question. How do we get to a unique solution? Oh, wait. If we make it all one region, right? Then do this. This has the same on both sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, up. Ah. You're not valid for some reason. Oh, can I do this? No. How did I screw this up over here? Right. Tidy this up a bit. Oh, if I... No, I can't turn that around. I can't do that. How do I get this 3 in here? Oh boy. Because, like, this AB thing seems so correctly built around this node. It feels like there's very few other ways that I could execute on this. Like, it feels so perfect. There it is. I just had to turn that downwards. That's very good. I liked the little revelation here. Alright. 35-minute video. 3 more to do. I don't even know what 3 we have the options of. There's a 6 down there. There's a 4, a 4, a 7, a 5, and a 3. Check out the 3. Oh, God. It just gets so busy so fast. Well, that's a region. Those are all different regions. This is going to have to split either that way or that way. That gets a line. That gets a line. That gets a line. You come out to here. Those get lines. You come down to there. You don't need another yellow, so you go over to there. You can't go back on yourself. You don't need green, so you go to there. That must exist like this, which is going to put those in a region. That's going to put this together with either that or that, but I don't know which. This has to come out to a blue and needs a yellow and a green. Could be that. Could be that. That's tricky. This needs a blue. Can't get to this blue, so it's going to get that blue. This red is going to go to there. Doesn't need that red, so that's going to come across and up. Therefore, that's got to come down. Therefore, that gets those. That goes up there. That comes out to here and there. That's going to get that yellow, because that yellow has nowhere else it can go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then... can't have 2 blues in the top row. How do we do this? This is either going to do this, which can't exist, because we can't do that. So it must be this. Nice. Not as intimidating as it was, or not as scary as it looked. 5, 7, 4, 4. We need 2 more. Let's check out this 5. Maybe I have regrets about checking this 5. Oh, we've been here before. Let's destroy our previous work so that we're not tempted. Precision 5. Okay, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. That has to go up. That has to come out. That has to go up, makes 5. That can't do that, so that has to come across. That's 3. That's going to do that. I have vague flashbacks now of not being able to get this to work around the bottom corner. But let's just go with what we can decide here. This needs a 3rd. Whether this and this are the same region, I don't know. This needs 1 more. This whole thing needs +1 to get to 5. Which means we could take one of these, but not both. Doesn't really help me. You're happy. You're happy. Where's my next piece of logic? Oh, let's look at this 3 in the top corner for a second. We know it needs a T-shape. We know it can't go that way, because that gets locked into the corner. could go that way. It could go that way. We can't go line up or line right. So it has to be line left or line down. Doesn't really help much else, does it? This would come up. This would have to go up. That would have to take that. That would have to get out. That would have to come over. That then doesn't get 3. So that's going to the right. But that's like not super helpful, is it? There's a lot of colouring that could be done, but I don't love it. Alright, well clearly I've struggled with this one before. And we've been going 40 minutes. So what do we need? We need 2 more. Precision 16 of 64. That's 4 zones. That's as much as I've got so far. That can't go to there. So that must take that. That can't go to there. Must come out to there. How do we get to 4 zones of 16 out of this? Sheesh. Alright, well, that has to go up. That means that has to go up. What else do we know to be certain? This could join that. Or it could go... Okay, no. It can't go up. I mean, it could. But I don't think it can go up and be independent. Because then all of this stuff has to get out to other places. That locks that in. So... Well, it doesn't have to. Whatever you do, Shift Z. Yeah, that can't take that, and that can't take that, okay. That has to come out. That has to come out. That has to come out. You can only have a second colour. So you can't come out to there unless you pick up those. But no, I'm really just colouring in now, aren't I? Alright, I'm gonna call it for today, otherwise I'm just gonna... Oh, but there's you. Yeah, you're a 5. We'll find 2 more puzzles to do next time. For now, thank you guys ever so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.